They warned me not to go to Centralia alone, but warnings never stopped me before. I drove into the dead town just before sunset, engine humming against the cracked highway, the empty skeleton of Route 61 leading me deeper into silence. The sun hung low, casting long shadows over hollowed-out homes and charred roadways that steamed like open wounds. Everything felt like a whisper from another world. I wasn't a thrill seeker or some ghost hunter chasing stories. I was just searching for answers, for something that made sense. My name is Clara, and this wasn't my first time exploring the strange or the forgotten. But Centralia felt different. It didn't just feel haunted, it felt aware. If you're into dark stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'd love to know where and when you're watching this. The shadows have stories, and I'm here to tell them. As I parked near an old overgrown cemetery, the ground beneath me radiated heat, like breathing coals hidden beneath a thin crust. The underground coal fire that started decades ago still burned without mercy. It had swallowed homes, pushed families away, and left the entire town deserted, but not empty. I stepped out, boots crunching ash and broken glass. Smoke drifted from the fissures in the earth like silent screams. That's when I saw it. A figure at the far end of the cemetery, still watching, unmoving. I blinked. It was gone. I told myself it was the heat haze or my tired eyes, but my heart was already picking up speed. Something about that presence felt wrong. Not threatening, not yet, but ancient, aware, as if something beneath Centralia had opened its eyes the moment I arrived. I pressed forward anyway. I followed the remnants of graffiti highway, once covered in neon spray paint from curious tourists before it was blocked off. Now it looked like a discarded dream. The colors had faded and twisted, warped by smoke and fire, transforming into symbols I couldn't recognize. One caught my eye, a circle with a line through the middle, not spray paint etched, burned into the pavement. I bent down to touch it. The asphalt burned my fingers. Then I heard the whisper, low, breathless, like it came from inside my skull. Clara, my name, not screamed, not growled, just spoken, like a mother waking her child from a nightmare. I jerked back. There was no one around, only the smoke, the ruins, the heat, and something waiting. The sound of my name didn't echo. It landed soft, like breath against my ear, then disappeared into the haze. I stood frozen, hands still tingling from the burn. Around me, the smoke thickened. My instinct screamed to leave, but my legs moved forward anyway. I followed the markings, now seeing more of them, carved deep into the road, into fallen stones, onto what remained of lampposts. Someone had been here before me, or maybe something had always been here. I passed a rusted playground, half swallowed by weeds and melted plastic. A single swing moved back and forth with no wind. That kind of detail only registers when your brain is trying to survive. I reached for my phone to snap a photo, but the screen stayed black. I pressed the buttons again. Nothing, not even a flicker. Like the battery had been drained out of existence. No signal, no power, no proof I was even here. The silence started to press against me. Not the usual kind. It was alive, like the town was listening, waiting, feeding off each of my footsteps. I reached an old post office building, barely standing, its windows shattered, doors long gone. Spray paint covered one wall, but among the chaos of scribbles and tags, a phrase had been burned into the brick. They never left. They just went under. The chill in my spine didn't come from the air. I stepped inside, My boots scraped against broken tile and scorched mailboxes. The inside stank of sulfur and mold, and beneath it, something worse, something like rot. That's when I saw the hatch, hidden behind a fallen cabinet and a mess of scorched paper. A metal door bolted to the ground. At first, I thought it was just a basement entrance, but the air around it shimmered like heat waves off asphalt. And it was humming, not loudly, a low, pulsing vibration, deep enough to feel in my bones. I hesitated. Everything inside me screamed not to touch it, but I had come this far, and Clara never turns back. I pulled the cabinet away, the metal screeching against the floor. I bent down, gripped the rusted handle, and pulled. The hatch opened with a hiss of stale air. A rush of heat hit me in the face. Not just heat. Something wrong. The kind of warmth that feels like it doesn't belong in this world. Inside, metal stairs led down into darkness. I clicked on my flashlight. It flickered once, then steadied, and I stepped in. Each step echoed like a warning. The air grew thicker, the humming louder. I reached the bottom and found a tunnel, carved into stone, but with walls scorched black. It didn't look like a mining shaft. It looked older, sharper, more intentional. Symbols like the ones outside lined the walls, drawn in soot or something darker, something that looked almost red. I wasn't supposed to be here, but now I couldn't leave. The tunnel twisted like a vein through the earth, damp and close, carved by hands that didn't care for human comfort. The deeper I walked, the louder the hum grew, resonating in my chest like a second heartbeat. My flashlight flickered, not from battery drain. I had charged it just hours before, but from something else, something nearby that didn't want to be seen. I turned a corner and the tunnel widened into a chamber. Its walls were covered in soot-black murals, crude drawings of figures with hollow eyes and twisted limbs, all bowing toward a central symbol, that same circle with a line through it. In the center of the room sat a stone altar, scorched and cracked. I approached it slowly. Symbols were carved into its surface, ancient and jagged. But one word stood out clearly, newer than the rest. Clara. I froze. My name burned into the stone like it had waited years to be read. The hum pulsed louder. The temperature dropped. I saw my breath. The flashlight flickered again, then died completely. Darkness swallowed me. I reached into my bag for a backup light. But the moment my fingers touched it, the humming stopped. Silence fell hard, too hard, like the sound had been ripped out of the air. I stood there, breath shallow, ears straining. Then I heard footsteps, not echoes, not illusions, real, deliberate steps moving toward me from the tunnel I had just walked through. I pressed my back to the wall, heartbeat like thunder. The light was gone, but I could feel the presence. It moved slowly, confident, like it knew the way, like it had done this before. I reached into my coat, fingers brushing the edge of my pocket knife. It felt ridiculous, a toy against whatever had just entered the chamber. The footsteps stopped, then, breathing, close right beside me. I didn't move. I didn't dare. Then a voice, low, male, familiar in a way that chilled my bones. Clara, you came back. My throat closed. I hadn't spoken to anyone down here. I hadn't told anyone I was coming. That voice, it wasn't from this moment. It was from years ago. From dreams I never remembered when I woke. Who are you? I whispered, but I knew. The air around me shifted, warmer now, like being pulled close to a fevered body. A hand reached out from the dark, barely visible, pale, burned, shaking. It touched the altar. and the entire chamber lit up with a sudden burst of orange light. Carvings on the wall glowed. The figures moved, not literally, but the illusion was powerful. The bowing shadows now stared directly at me. And in that moment, I realized something horrifying. I hadn't found Centralia's secret. It had summoned me to reveal its own. The light from the altar cast shadows in impossible directions. My head spun. It felt like gravity had loosened its grip, and the walls themselves were breathing. My knees buckled slightly, not from fear, but from something heavier memory, but not mine. Flashes of a town, Centralia, before the fire, families smiling on porches, children playing in the street, then a loud crack, like thunder underground, smoke, screams, and something, crawling from beneath the mines, dragging ash and voices with it. I blinked. The images faded, but the dread remained. The hand on the altar curled into a fist. The man, if it was a man, stepped into full view. His skin was half melted, like wax left too long in the sun. But his eyes were perfectly intact, familiar. "You left me down here," he said. "I've never been here before," I replied, but my voice trembled. "I don't know you." He smiled, not kindly. "You don't remember. That's how it protects itself." The room shifted again. The stone walls melted into frames of old houses. And suddenly I was standing in a living room scorched by flame. The same room appeared and vanished like a hallucination, over and over. Each time, someone burned inside. A man, a woman, a child, always the same three. It was a memory looping, or a punishment being repeated. "Clara," he whispered again, "you're the last of them. The last to remember what happened here. That's why you're here. To finish it." I backed away. "No, I don't know what you're talking about." But deep inside, something in me cracked. A distant scream in my skull, like a voice I had buried long ago, was clawing to the surface. I stumbled out of the chamber and back into the tunnel, heart pounding like it would rip through my ribs. The humming returned, louder now, urgent. The tunnel began collapsing behind me. Rocks fell. Dust choked the air. I ran, hands scraping against the walls, flashlight swinging wildly, and just before I reached the staircase, I burst through the hatch and back into the burned ruins of Centralia's surface. I looked back, and he was still there, watching, smiling, because he knew I'd be back, because this wasn't over, not even close.